So I started writing the script for this video a while ago, and I was gonna put Killian Hayes on here, but it looks like his career might be over already. It's kinda sad, but not exactly surprising. Anyway, let's talk about young players who at one point looked promising, or had some potential when they first got drafted, but over the years, it seems like their careers have hit a wall. They haven't made much progress, some of them regressed, and there's a bunch of reasons why. Every situation is different. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today I want to take a look at 5 young NBA players, and why exactly aren't they progressing like their teams thought they would. But before we continue, I want to give a special thanks to my sponsor, Raycon. My Raycon Everyday Earbuds are my favorite go-to earbuds, because they're extremely comfortable and easy to use. They have options for different sound profiles, along with other features like my favorite one, noise isolation, which lets you listen to audio while blocking outside noise. It works very well, and I use it whenever I'm vacuuming or doing chores around the house. Awareness mode is another cool feature that lets you hear outside noise while you're listening to your audio. So if you have kids or you need to hear what's going on around you, this is a great option to have. Raycon's optimized gel tips are designed to fit properly in your ears, and I can wear them all day without wanting to take them off. Most importantly, they're affordable and equipped with 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. Raycon Everyday Earbuds are compatible with Siri or Alexa. To purchase, click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/hoops to get 20% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping. By purchasing through my link, you're supporting my channel. Number 5. Jaylen Green. It's normal to have high expectations for a player who was drafted with the 2nd overall pick. Jaylen Green came in with a ton of hype. He was the first player the Rockets drafted in the post-James Harden era. To snag the number 2 pick right when the team began rebuilding, that's a great start. Naturally, they believed Green could live up to his draft status and be the franchise player of their future. Unfortunately, it wasn't him who stood out among the Rockets' plethora of young players. It was their other draft pick from the same class, a young man from Turkey who was relatively unknown in the States, Alperen Şengün, a player who many folks compare to a young Nikola Jokic. For Jaylen Green, however, his role on the Rockets has been reduced. Less and less of the offense runs through him. The Rockets even benched him in the 4th quarter various times. In fact, Green publicly voiced his displeasure about getting benched. You know, I think it's okay for a player to want more minutes. Remember when Jonathan Kuminga said the same thing before? He felt like he deserved more minutes on the Warriors. And when he got them, he balled out. He certainly proved he deserved more minutes. For Jaylen Green, it's different, because he still averages like 30 minutes a game, yet he hasn't shown enough improvement. If you're gonna complain for even more minutes, you need to show you're capable of contributing in a positive way. The Rockets are not sure he's ever able to do that. Heck, they even tried listening to offers at the trade deadline for him. But what exactly is holding him back? For one, he's not good at getting open. According to NBA.com's tracking dashboard, only 18.5% of his shots are open looks. That's one of the lowest on his team. For comparison, Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks, over 30% of their shots are open. Green takes a lot of contested looks. As of this video, he takes the most shots out of anyone on this team, just a bit more than Şengün, even a higher usage rate than him too. While Şengün is clearly the better player now and also takes a lot of contested shots, Green's shot quality is piss poor. According to ShotQuality.com, Green is in the 14th percentile in shot quality. Basically, he takes a lot of bad shots. He rarely finishes at the basket. This has resulted in him being in the bottom 5 in efficiency out of anyone who takes at least 15 shots a game. It's the same problem he's had since he was a rookie, but I don't think it's necessarily all his fault. The Rockets have had horrendous spacing for a while now. Despite their efforts to fix this problem, they're still the 3rd worst 3-point shooting team. Perhaps if he got drafted to a better team with better spacing, maybe he wouldn't be this inefficient. I mean, mechanically, his jump shot is nice. However, even with his shoddy play, it's his attitude that's starting to raise red flags. Kelly Iko of The Athletic claimed it wasn't the first time Green was upset with getting benched at crucial moments. It's happened so many times where he's clearly unhappy with his role on the team. Considering the 2023-24 season is the best season the Rockets have had since his arrival, maybe Ime Udoka was correct in giving him a lesser role. And maybe he should be happier his team is winning more games than usual, instead of pouting on the bench. Number 4, Gary Trent Jr. At the 2021 trade deadline, the Raptors made a major trade, trading away Norman Powell, who, at the time, was their second leading scorer, in exchange for a young hopeful prospect named Gary Trent Jr. Not many folks knew about him, but according to the Blazers, he was one of the NBA's hidden gems, and the Raptors low-key got a great young player in return. Since then, several years have passed, and despite some excellent shooting seasons, he's not exactly the guy the Raptors are looking for. In fact, besides his three-point shooting, he literally has no other areas of the game where he's good at. He puts in very little effort on defense. He really has no sense of court vision at all. Every time he tries to put the ball on the floor, it's a disaster. It's weird cause when the Raptors initially got him, he was seen as a good player with upside. But if you talk to any Raptors fans today, they would tell you he's one of the worst players in the league who gets significant minutes. Like, what happened? Well, Trent's weaknesses were not as apparent before, but now, with the Raptors struggling, they need guys who can contribute in multiple facets. But Trent is the ultimate one-trick pony. He's got no intangibles whatsoever. It's funny, cause I think the Raptors caught a huge break. If you recall, over the summer of 2023, the Raptors were in discussions to offer Gary Trent Jr. a brand new contract extension worth over $100 million. What's even funnier is that he thought he was worth more than that, so they could not come to terms with an agreement. Instead, Trent opted into his player option and hopefully increase his value to get a bigger payday as an unrestricted free agent in 2024. That has severely backfired, and now his value is lower than it's ever been. I mean, it's great for the Raptors. If Trent took this deal they offered, their salary situation would have been severely crippled for the next several years. They would have had a hard time signing other guys, maybe even some vets who can actually contribute and help this team develop. At the trade deadline, with the Raptors trading for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, they now have a very deep backcourt, and there's honestly not much use for Trent anymore. I highly doubt he'll remain in Toronto for much longer. Number 3, Sadik Bay. Now this is a very interesting case. When Sadik Bay was on the Pistons during their dark ages, well, they're still in their dark ages, but they used to be when he was there too. Basically, he was one of those guys who, every 3 or 4 games or so, he would pop off and explode for like 30 points. It was kinda weird cause most of the time, he was bad. He shot horribly, but he had so many random pop-offs that made us think, it's only a matter of time until he becomes more consistent and maintains this high level of play. In Detroit, he was only 20 or 21 years old after all, but talent-wise, the dude had a certain aura around him that made him seem better than he actually was. A lot of those fantastic games he had before, it's ingrained in our minds. So we think, with just a couple years of development, maybe his game could become sustainable? Well, it turns out it's not. Sadik Bay's flash-in-the-pan performances back in Detroit were exactly that, a flash in the pan. Even in Atlanta, a team with much better spacing surrounded by better players who get more attention, his own efficiency or consistency has not improved much. We still see so many games of like 1 for 7, 1 for 9, 2 for 9, 0 for 12. Jeez. The best way I can describe him is he's a role player who's trying too hard to be more than that. Unlike most other role players, Sadik is trying really hard to create his own offense. So many possessions of him starting the play and ending it with nothing. I don't even think he's a starting caliber wing player. For a guy of his size, 6'7", super athletic, he's surprisingly a poor defender. Defense is especially important at the wings, and Sadik has been the Hawks' starting small forward for a while now. There's a reason why they're literally the worst defensive team in the entire NBA. He's not the only problem, but he's a huge one. The Hawks realized this too, and at the trade deadline, they tried to trade him, but reportedly, he didn't have many suitors. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and perhaps this isn't a good fit. Maybe he'd be better off on a new team. But I flat out don't think he's a good player. And even with a phenomenal passer like Trey, plus a top 10 offense in the league, it hasn't helped him because he doesn't know how to play off the ball. Plus, these consistency issues, I don't think they'll ever go away. Number 2, Matisse Thybulle. Very few players come into the NBA and immediately become a defensive dynamo. Matisse Thybulle started off his career in Philly and made second-team All-Defense twice within his first 3 years. His defense had always been his biggest strength coming out of college, while his offense, on the other hand, well, I'll let the scouting report do the talking. He's a menace all over the floor and against anyone from point guards to power forwards. His lateral movement is top tier, and his 7-foot wingspan helps him recover on the rare occasions he gets beat off the dribble. Thybulle could be a perennial DPOY candidate. If he ever becomes even average as a 3-point shooter, he'll be among the game's most impactful players. That's the biggest requirement for Thybulle to become one of the NBA's most impactful role players. But unfortunately, he hasn't come anywhere close to that goal. Actually, he's one of the worst offensive players the league has ever seen. Definitely the worst out of anyone who gets 20+ minutes a night. It hasn't improved at all since he was a rookie, and he can't rely on just his defense if he's a total liability at the other end. People love to compare him to somebody like Andre Robertson. You remember him? He was a defensive stud who also struggled offensively. But Robertson actually had some other redeeming qualities. He was a good rebounder for a shooting guard, and he was quite good at cutting to the basket. It pains me to say this, but even Robertson was a much better scorer than Thybulle. If it wasn't for his devastating knee injury, his career would have lasted a lot longer. Thybulle, however, does not have those redeeming qualities. It's not just his 3-point shooting that sucks, he just doesn't have any talent to score. Coming in, the scouts thought maybe he could work on it enough and become a passable offensive player. The Blazers also kinda suck. They're still tanking and rebuilding, so his defensive talents are being put to waste. And finally, at number 1, Josh Giddy. The biggest story of Josh Giddy has been all the drama and headlines surrounding his escapades with a minor. Another major storyline has been the success of the Oklahoma City Thunder, competing for a top spot in the Western Conference. All of that has overshadowed Josh Giddy's struggles on the court, while the rest of his team, like Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, even a lot of their role players are showing out. But Giddy, he's the only player on this team who's taken a step back. It seems like he doesn't fit on this roster anymore. In previous years, his primary role was the playmaker, a point forward, and he was quite successful. When Shea needed someone to throw the ball to and initiate the offense, Josh Giddy was that guy. Now, he doesn't even look like the same player anymore. The main reason is the emergence of Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, both of whom are taking more and more possessions away from Giddy. Considering how good the Thunder are now, maybe it's a good thing Giddy got fewer touches. What's even worse is, well, I'll give you a quote from Australian basketball reporter Andrew Gaze. The Thunder are trying to surround this core with shooters, and while Josh is getting better at that, it becomes harder when he isn't getting the ball as much. He is playing more off the ball, and with his skill set, it probably isn't the best situation for him right now. What he said is absolutely true. Without the ball in his hands, Giddy is just standing around way too much, not really moving much. While he has arguably the best court vision and natural passing ability on this team, he's not good at going downhill or creating a play by attacking the rim. This is an area that Jalen Williams excels at. He has an explosive first step that Giddy cannot match. OKC benefits more when Jalen has the ball, not Giddy. Giddy's numbers reflect his diminishing role. You can tell just from watching his team, Giddy looks so out of place. With the new offense focused around their big three, he's tried to be a spot-up shooter. He tries to rebound more, he tries to cut more, but nobody is hitting him. Basically, his involvement in the offense has severely decreased compared to previous seasons. A trade is not out of the question. I don't think Giddy is a bad player. He just doesn't fit into this team right now. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 5 young NBA players who, when they came in, they all looked promising or kinda productive, but due to changing roles or struggling to fit in, their teams have better options now, and they aren't the priority anymore. Thus, their games have regressed. There's still plenty of time though, but time is also running thin. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What are your thoughts on these guys? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.